Hey guys, this is Unger to the Max here. So, UFC 219 is coming up. I believe it is December 30th. Let me check on the UFC app super quick. Well, before UFC 219, there's an important welterweight main event going on UFC Fight Night. And for those of you who don't know, welterweight is 170 pounds, where Tyron Woodley is the current champion. So the fight night coming up is Robbie Lawler against Rafael dos Anjos, and both of them are former champions. Robbie Lawler is the former welterweight champion. Tyron Woodley knocked him out at UFC 201. And Rafael dos Anjos is the former lightweight champion. The lightweight is 155 pounds. He lost that to Eddie Alvarez, and then Eddie Alvarez lost to Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor hasn't defended the lightweight belt since. He didn't fight Floyd Mayweather and lost in 10 rounds. Hang on, I want to talk about that for a minute. I think Floyd Mayweather had an excellent strategy. He knew that Conor had all the power for 5 rounds. But he said, okay, I'm going to let you use your power for those 5 rounds. And then you will have virtually no power after 5 rounds, and I can just beat you up. And that's exactly what he did. It was a perfectly executed strategy. But anyway, so Dana White has come out and said, getting back to Lawler versus dos Anjos, Dana White has come out and said that the winner of Lawler versus dos Anjos, this main event of UFC Fight Night, will get the next title shot at Tyron for the welterweight belt against Tyron Woodley. I don't know if I really want Robbie Lawler to face Tyron Woodley. I don't know if I really want Woodley versus Lawler too. Something about that just doesn't sound appealing. That's nothing against Robbie Lawler. No, I'm not saying I don't like Robbie Lawler, because he's one of my favorite UFC fighters. It's just that, I don't know, something about that just doesn't appeal to me at all. Sorry, I need to fix that. But Woodley used his power and his speed in the first fight and completely knocked Lawler out. It wasn't even controversial or anything. Lawler was knocked out. And I see the same result happening if Lawler and Woodley fought each other again. Whereas, if Woodley were to fight RDA, that's Rafael dos Anjos, I think it would be more competitive, because nothing against Robbie Lawler, but I just think dos Anjos is more durable and could stand up to Woodley's power. So, after Fight Night, Lawler versus dos Anjos is good, in my opinion, going to be a very boring pay-per-view. Cyborg versus Holm for the women's featherweight belt. Why do I think this pay-per-view is going to be boring? Because the last time they did a women's featherweight belt pay-per-view at UFC 208, Dana White came out and said it wasn't their best card. And I personally agree. That's not just because right now the women's featherweight division doesn't really have anybody in it. It just has Cyborg and Holly Holm sometimes, but she's moved to bantamweight. It had, like, Tonya Evinger fought at UFC 214, but Tonya Evinger is a bantamweight, which is 135 pounds. So, I just don't think that's really going to be a good pay-per-view and not worth my time. But the card I really want to talk about is UFC 220 in Boston. Let me check the date super quick, because I believe it is January 20th. Hang on one second. Stupid Google. Let's see. UFC 220. Yes. January 20th, 2018. So, the original main event for UFC 220 was going to be Daniel Cormier against Volkan Ozdemir, I think. But now, the main event has been changed. Cormier versus Ozdemir is still on it. But the main event is now Cleveland's own Stipe Miocic defending his heavyweight belt against a man who knocked out Alistair Overeem with one freaking punch. Francis the Predator Ngannou. So, that is... Sorry for the camera flipping. I wanted to test that, but it's clearly not going to work. But that is going to be a hell of a fight. And there's a bit of history on the line. Because if Stipe is able to successfully defend his belt for the third time, he will set the record for the most title defenses in UFC heavyweight history. Now, Stipe Miocic is from Cleveland. But for some reason, Daniel Cormier acted like he's from Cleveland. What do I mean? Well, on the UFC Fox post-fight show after UFC 203, which was in Cleveland, and I was there, check out those videos check out my footage from when I was there. But anyway, Daniel Cormier was saying to Stipe, how does it feel to get a championship for our city and our Cavaliers, our monsters, our Indians, our Browns? But last time I checked, Daniel Cormier, you are not from Cleveland, Ohio. So, Daniel Cormier, I am calling you out. If you somehow see this video in any way, I would love to know, what the heck is your connection to Cleveland? If somehow I am lucky enough to be at the pre-fight conference for UFC 220, I would love to ask Daniel Cormier that question. Because I really want to know. And then I want to ask him, like, how does it feel to be on the same card as Stipe? So I want to talk about this main event. Because of Stipe versus Ngannou. Stipe, you really doesn't... Well, first, let me talk about Ngannou. It doesn't seem like Ngannou really has much of a wrestling game. To me, it looks like he prefers to stand up and just punch the heck out of you. Which is smart for some guys, like the Super Samoan Mark Hunt. And it fits him. But against Stipe, that might not be the best idea. Why? Because Stipe has fought guys who are stand-up based before, like Mark Hunt. And what did he do? When Mark Hunt went to punch, Stipe would dump his butt, I don't want to swear, would dump his butt on the ground and take him down. So I think he has to do the same thing against Ngannou. Also, I'm going to be curious. I'm not Stipe has finished his last four opponents: JDS, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, Fabrizio Verdum, and Andrei Arlovski in the first round. I'm not sure he wants to... I know this is going to sound weird to say, but I'm not sure he wants... It might be a good idea for him to try and somehow extend the fight past one round. Because Ngannou is probably going to have the most power in the first round. My theory is a guy with that much power, maybe as the fight goes on, maybe it wears off and he slows down. So I'm not saying maybe it would be a good idea for Stipe to kind of slow his pace down a little bit and try and extend the fight longer. That's just my thought on it. And Stipe can't just, stand in front of Ngannou. Otherwise, Ngannou's going to make Stipe his punching bag. I think that Stipe needs to move around. Don't stay in the same place. Because, like I said, if he stays in the same place every time, Francis Ngannou will turn him into his punching bag. And I do think eventually Francis Ngannou will be the UFC heavyweight champion. I'm just hoping it's not yet. Because I want Stipe to break this record. Because he's from Cleveland. And I would love to see the UFC come back to Cleveland. Not only is this video a call out to Daniel Cormier to find out what his connection is to the city of Cleveland, this video is also a call out to the UFC and Dana White. Bring the Octagon back to Cleveland. I went to UFC 203. Miocic versus Overeem. I also went with my friend Austin Johnson. Shout out to you, man. And it was one of the greatest days of my life. Because it was so much fun. And for me, what I enjoy about the UFC is how much technique these men and women put into it. I don't love the fact that they beat each other up, but that's part of the sport. But for me, it's all about the techniques these people use. Some of the UFC fighters rely more on Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu. Some fighters rely more on Jiu-Jitsu. And some guys rely more on a ground game, like Damian Maia. And some guys are just knockout artists, like Tyron Woodley, for example, or who's another knockout artist? The Super Samoan, not Francis Ngannou, the Super Samoan Mark Hunt. There's just a variety of UFC fighters, and that's what I love about it. But Dana White, bring the Octagon back to Cleveland. It was so much fun. The crowd loved it. Bring the Octagon back to Cleveland. So that's one of my call-outs. And I'm going to repeat the other call-out. Daniel Cormier, what is your connection to the city of Cleveland, Ohio? Because again, in the UFC Fox post-fight show, you were saying to Stipe, like, bringing a championship to our city, and our Cavaliers, and our Monsters, and our Indians. But again, last time I checked, you're not from Cleveland, DC. So, Daniel Cormier, what is your connection to Cleveland? So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your You know what? If you liked this video, press that like button like a champ. And I will see you guys next time. This is Unger to the Max, signing off. Salute.